Fire your marketing agency. 3 words you probably never expected to hear from a guy who built a career in marketing, but here we are. If you don't know who I am, my name is Chris M. Walker, and today I want to give you some real talk about the agency model and why it might be holding you back. No fluff, no sales pitch, just an honest conversation about saving money and getting better results. Now, first, a quick confession. I run a successful SEO agency myself called Superstar SEO, and I also founded Legiit, a business growth platform that connects entrepreneurs with tools and top freelancers. So why on earth would I tell you to fire your marketing agency? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. It's because I've seen what goes on behind the scenes. I know the good, I know the bad, and I know the ugly of how agencies operate. And while my goal isn't to bash every agency, there are some really great ones out there, like mine. But after working with thousands of business owners, I can tell you that many of you are paying far too much for far too little in return. And it's time that we talk about why. Now, if you've ever felt stuck with an agency, feeling like you're throwing money into a black hole and just hoping something comes out, you're not alone. Or maybe you haven't hired one, but keep hearing that you should. Either way, by the end of this talk, you'll have a clearer understanding of what agencies actually do and don't do, the hidden cost you might not see on the invoice, and how you can take back control of your marketing without losing your sanity. And yeah, I'll share a bit about smarter alternatives, including how I use Legiit in my own businesses. But I promise this isn't a hard sell or an infomercial or anything like that. It's about giving you options that make sense. So I was going to say grab a coffee, but don't grab a coffee. Grab something that's good for you. Close all those marketing guru tabs you've got open, and let's jump in. This is just going to be direct, practical, and maybe a little uncomfortable at times, but trust me, stick with me. And that's because the truth is you can grow your business without an overpriced agency holding your hand, and you might just do it better, faster, and with a lot less budget burn. So let's get into it. Now, what do agencies really sell? Let's start with why agencies exist in the first place and why so many business owners default to hiring them. And in a word, security. Agencies sell the promise of peace of mind. They pitch themselves as one-stop solution, a team of experts who will handle your marketing while you focus on your business. That idea is incredibly appealing when you're juggling a million tasks and know that marketing is important, but outside your expertise. Think about it. You're a business owner, not a full-time marketer. The world is complicated. SEO, social media, ads, content design, analytics, it's a lot. And hiring an agency feels like hiring an entire department of seasoned pros. It's the promise that someone out there has the magic formula to get you customers so you can maybe relax a little bit. So when an agency sales rep says, "Don't worry, we've got it under control," it's like a weight off your shoulders. Convenience and expertise on demand. That's what agencies are really selling. Agencies also sell confidence. They come in with polished pitches, fancy case studies, maybe even an impressive client list. What it does is create this aura of credibility. You might think, well, if they handle the marketing for big company XYZ, surely they know what they're doing. And in fairness, many agencies do have talented people and a track record of success in certain areas. They do bring expertise to the table, copywriters, designers, SEOs, strategists who've done this many times. For a business owner who feels lost in the weeds of marketing, tapping into that experience looks like a lifeline. Then there's the accountability factor. If something goes wrong, you have someone to call, someone to hold responsible. And that's comforting. It's comforting to believe that a dedicated team is watching your campaigns and thinking about your growth every day. Whether that actually happens or not is another story that we'll get to in a minute. But the point is, agencies give you a story you can tell yourself. I've hired experts to handle it, so it's being taken care of. It's almost like buying an insurance policy for your marketing. You pay a premium so you won't have to worry. Now, finally, agencies often sell scale and breadth. Need a new website, a Facebook ads campaign, some SEO, an email newsletter. An agency claims they can do it all under one roof. No need to find separate specialists. One contract supposedly covers everything from strategy to execution. And for many of you, that sounds a lot simpler than trying to piece together freelancers or learn the skills in-house. It's the path of least resistance. Write a check and get a full marketing department overnight. So it's no mystery why people hire agencies. They offer a compelling promise. We'll do it for you. And when you're busy and every day feels like a sprint, writing a monthly retainer check can seem like a small price to pay for the marketing problem to go away. Now, I'm not knocking the core idea here. Delegating marketing is smart in principle. You should focus on what you do best and let the experts handle the rest. That's solid advice, but the real question is, are you actually getting what you think you paid for? That's where things get interesting and a bit ugly, because the gap between the promise and the reality of agency services is where so many business owners get burned. Let's peel back the curtain on that next. The bloated agency model and why it's often inefficient. Look, here's the flip side of that coin. The traditional agency model is bloated with overhead and inefficiencies. All those promises of a dedicated team and full service support, they come at a steep price. And I'm not just talking dollars, although we're going to get into that too. But let's break down what you're really paying for with a typical marketing agency. There was a 2024 industry survey that revealed the number one reason 48% of respondents, by the way, clients fire their marketing agency is dissatisfaction with delivery of results. Agency didn't understand our business, and poor strategic approach were also top causes for ending the partnership. Meanwhile, agencies often think the breakup is due to the client budget cuts or leadership changes, a sign that they're out of touch with their clients' frustrations. First of all, agencies are companies like any other. They have expenses, office leases, layers of staff like account managers, project managers, salespeople, executives, and so on, slick software tools, maybe even a foosball table in the break room. I wish I had a foosball table or a break room for that matter, but that's neither here nor there. None of that comes free. When you sign on for a monthly retainer, part of that fee is covering costs that have nothing to do with your marketing results. As one analysis put it plainly, agencies tend to be more expensive than freelancers because you're funding all that infrastructure. Do you need to pay for their downtown office or that entourage on your account? Probably not, but it's in the bill anyway. Agencies can also be surprisingly inefficient. Picture a simple task, say, updating your website banner. In a small business, you just do it or have one person handle it in an hour. In an agency, that can turn into a mini opera. The account manager emails the design team, who loops in a copywriter who needs approval from the creative director, and by the time the new banner is live, a week's gone by. The more people and steps involved, the slower and pricier things are gonna get. It's the nature of the beast, right? Agencies put processes and hierarchy in place to manage work at scale. But for you as a client, often that means paying for a lot of motion instead of a lot of results. Now let's talk about talent and attention. When agencies pitch you, you meet the senior strategist, the big guns. That's not a big gun, but you get the idea. But once you sign the contract, who actually does the day-to-day work? In many cases, the junior staff cutting their teeth on your account, or even a VA who's just paid to do a task. You're paying premium rates, but getting the B or C team doing most of the execution. It's so common, it's almost a cliche. The old bait and switch where the agency star player shows up for the sales meeting and interns handle the rest. One business owner summed it up bluntly. They paid a premium and ended up with a junior marketer who didn't have the experience to get results. Ouch. That's an expensive training program that you're funding there. Another issue is one-size-fits-all solutions. Agencies love their SOPs and their playbooks and their templates because it makes scaling easier for them. But that can mean cookie-cutter strategies that aren't actually right for your business. They might plug your company into the same formula they used for the last 10 clients, regardless of what makes you different. Trust me, I've run into this a lot running a platform like Legiit that's different than most businesses that agencies take on. They just try to do the same thing over and over again. And if you're a local boutique, you might get the same increase your social media posts and run Google Ads plan as a SaaS startup with global customers. It's efficient for them, but not effective for you. And that lack of personalization is a huge inefficiency. It's effort spent on tactics that might not move the needle for your situation. And we have to mention multitasking. You are one of several, maybe dozens or even hundreds of clients an agency team juggles. No matter how earnest they are, their attention is divided. If something urgent comes up for a bigger client, guess whose project gets backburnered? This isn't because they're evil. It's just math. An agency's goal is to maximize their revenue just like yours, which often means loading up employees with as many accounts as they can handle. And the result is that you get slivers of their time packaged to look like full-time attention. All these factors, overhead, extra step, junior execution, templated approaches, divided attention, add up to a bloated model. It's not that agencies don't work, it's they often don't work efficiently. There's a lot of fat in the system, and you as the client are paying for that fat. It can show up as slower results, higher cost, or work that just misses the mark, or often it's all of the above. Remember, you wanted an agency to save you time and deliver expertise. But if the model is wasteful, you're not saving time or money at all. You're squandering it. So while agencies promise an army of resources at your disposal, in reality, you might be getting a clunky machine that burns through resources, yours, with too little output to show for it. So what's the true cost of all this? Let's tally that up next, not just in dollars, but in other things you lose when you lean on an inefficient system. The real costs. So what are the real costs? The real costs are time, money, and control. When an agency isn't delivering efficiently, the costs to you go beyond the monthly fee. Let's spell out the three big things on the line. That's money, that's time, and that's control. First is money. Now, this one is obvious, but it needs saying. Agencies are expensive. A typical small business might be paying thousands per month in retainers. That's money out of your pocket every single month, whether or not the needle is moving. If the agency is bloated or underperforming, you're essentially pouring cash into a leaky bucket. One frustrated business owner described it like this: I'm putting out all this money and I'm not getting a damn thing back. It's not just the fees either. Sometimes agencies mark up ad spend or insist that you use costly tools and consider the opportunity cost. Dollars tied up in a lackluster campaign are dollars not being used elsewhere in your business, like new hires or better equipment or whatever. The bottom line, if you're paying champagne prices for tap water results, that is a huge cost. The next one is time. Time is even more precious than money because you can't get it back. How much time do you spend on briefing calls, status meetings, checking in on what your agency is or is not doing, and so on? How long are you willing to wait to see progress? I've seen businesses stick with an agency for a year or more with little to show just because marketing takes time. Sure, patience is part of the game, but there's a difference between giving a strategy time to work and just spinning your wheels. Every month that goes by with flat sales or weak lead flow is a month you can't recover. Also, think about the delays. Waiting for your agency to reply to an email or complete a task. If your marketing partner can't even respond to you within 48 hours, that's a red flag. It means you're not a priority. Your business moves at your speed, but now you've chained it to someone else's slower timetable in most cases. Lost time in marketing isn't just inconvenient, it's lost revenue and growth. And then the third one is control. When you hand your marketing over to an agency, you give up a significant degree of control. Now, control is probably one thing you wanted to give up. You didn't want to micromanage Facebook ads or SEO or whatever, and that's fine. But I'm talking about strategic control and visibility. Many agencies operate with a just trust us approach. They might keep you in the dark about what they're doing day to day. Some won't even give you direct access to your own ad accounts or data. Everything filters through them. That means you're flying blind, essentially taking their word for it that progress is happening. It also means if you part ways, you might lose valuable data or momentum because it wasn't in your hands. And here's what's probably the scariest part. You become dependent. Instead of learning and understanding your marketing, you outsource all the knowledge. As a result, your growth is at their mercy. One article put it bluntly: when you work with the wrong agency, they control the pace at which you grow, not you. That is a steep price to pay. You should never surrender the driver's seat for your own business growth. Yet that's exactly what happens to many owners who feel beholden to an underperforming agency, unsure how to break free without crashing the whole marketing machine. In short, a bad or mismatched agency relationship can drain your bank account, waste your precious time, and rob you of control over one of the most critical aspects of your business. It's a triple whammy that leaves you feeling stuck, which incidentally is what we need to talk about next. The psychology of why people stay stuck in these situations, even when the costs are so high. By this point, you might be thinking, if it's so bad, why do people stay with agencies or hire them in the first place? It comes down to psychology. Agency dependence is real, and it can be hard to break. Let's unpack why smart business owners often feel stuck even when the relationship isn't working. One big factor is fear of the unknown. If you fire your agency, then what? Many owners worry they'll be left with nothing. No leads, no marketing, and no idea what to do next. The agency might not be getting great results, but at least it's something. The devil you know feels safer than the devil you don't. I've heard clients say, I can't just fire them. I wouldn't even know where to start on my own. The marketing world can seem like a black box. The agency is the one with the flashlight. Blowing that relationship up feels like plunging yourself into darkness, and that is scary as hell. There's also a bit of pride and trust at play. You likely spent a lot of time vetting and choosing this agency. Maybe a colleague recommended them, or they talked a really good game and you believed in that vision, or maybe you just like them personally. So admitting it's not working can feel like admitting you made a bad call. So people hang on, giving more chances. Maybe next month will be better. Maybe it's all our fault for not giving them enough info. Business owners are optimistic by nature, and sometimes that optimism turns into rose-colored glasses about an underperforming partner. Agencies, intentionally or not, can foster dependency. They might use their heavy jargon or not fully explain their strategies, which leaves you feeling like you need them to find your way through this complex marketing maze. Ever been in a meeting and felt like the agency team were speaking another language? That's not because you're not smart. It's because they've been living in this stuff and you haven't. Unfortunately, instead of clarifying it, some agencies lean into that gap. They become the gatekeepers of marketing knowledge in your business. You start to doubt whether you could even handle it, whether you could ever handle it without them. And that doubt keeps you paying the retainer. There's also the sunk cost fallacy. You've already invested thousands and months of effort in with this agency, so you keep thinking, if I just stick it out a little longer, it'll pay off. Look, it's human nature to avoid writing off a loss, but you still need to do it. And ironically, this often deepens the loss. The more time and money you sink into a failing strategy, the harder it gets to pull the plug. I've seen businesses suffer through 2-3 years or more of mediocre results because they kept convincing themselves success was just around the corner if they just stayed loyal. Another subtle thing, self-doubt. If an agency campaign flops, a lot of owners don't immediately blame the agency. They think, maybe it's my business, maybe my product isn't appealing enough, or maybe I didn't provide the right guidance. People often internalize the failure as their own. And a marketing expert says your website needs a redesign or your pricing is wrong. You assume they might be right, and you double down on letting them fix you. In one commentary, the author noted that many small businesses try an agency, get lackluster results, and then conclude they weren't ready or strategic enough for marketing to work. Think about that. The client blames themselves, not the flawed approach. That's powerful psychology. What it does is it keeps people tethered to an agency because they've lost confidence in their ability to get results any other way. Finally, let's not discount simple inertia in relationships. You may genuinely like the people at your agency. I mentioned that before. Maybe they're nice, professional folks, and they're just not delivering. Firing someone or a team that you've worked with for a while is really uncomfortable. Business is personal at the end of the day, so you avoid the tough conversation even as you quietly grow more and more frustrated. Meanwhile, the easy path is to do nothing and just hope it improves. It's like staying in a lukewarm relationship because breaking up is too much drama. Anybody, I'm sure many of you watching this can relate to that analogy. All these factors create kind of a mental trap. You feel reliant on the agency, unsure of alternatives, maybe even questioning your own judgment. That's exactly where no business owner should be, feeling powerless and stuck. My goal, and the goal of this talk, is to show you that you're not stuck. There is a way out that doesn't involve torching your marketing to the ground. But before we get into the escape plan, we need to shine a light on what the alternative looks like. Because firing your agency only makes sense if you have a better plan. All right, look, we've torn the agency model to shreds pretty well. So what's the alternative? The answer isn't necessarily do everything yourself. The answer is to work smarter by leveraging modern tools and talent in a more flexible way. In 2025 and beyond, you have options that simply didn't exist at scale a decade ago. Hell, they didn't exist in 2021. It's now possible to get agency quality work or better without hiring a traditional agency. How? By mixing automation, online platforms, and freelance specialists into a custom solution that fits your business. Think of it like building your own dream team on demand. Instead of one big agency, you assemble your team and your toolkit. You remain the quarterback calling the plays, but you're not grinding out every yard yourself. Look, here are the key pieces of this puzzle. First is automation and tools. There's an explosion of accessible technology that can handle a lot of marketing tasks automatically or with minimal oversight. Email marketing, for example, can be managed with platforms like MailChimp or Sendinblue, which provides templates and scheduling without needing a consultant for every newsletter. Social media management tools let you schedule posts across platforms in one go. SEO analytics tools, even some free from Google or affordable SaaS products, can give you insights that used to require a team of analysts. And then there's AI. Unless you've been under a rock, you know AI can assist in content creation, data analysis, ad targeting, you name it. I'm not saying an AI replaces a marketer, but I'm not saying it's not. But it can augment you is what I'm saying. It's like having a junior assistant who works 24/7 and doesn't charge overtime. You can use AI to draft copy, generate ideas, to analyze which of your website pages are underperforming. Automation handles the busy work and gives you leverage so you can achieve more with fewer people. A small business today can run marketing campaigns with a kind of advanced automation that only big companies had years ago. This greatly reduces the need to pay a full team to do repetitive tasks. Next is platforms and marketplaces. Consider leveraging platforms that connect you directly with talent and resources, essentially cutting out the middleman, which is the agency. For instance, if you need a specific project done, say a website redesign or a series of blog posts, you can go directly to a marketplace and find a specialist for that. There are general freelancer sites out there, but be cautious with those as the quality varies. Now, I'm biased, but I built Legiit precisely to solve this problem by vetting matchmaking between businesses and proven freelancers. The idea is you get direct access to top-tier freelancers without agency pricing or risk. No long contracts, no paying for someone's fancy office. Just pay for the work you need when you need it. These platforms also include rating systems, portfolios, and sometimes escrow payment protection, so you have transparency and control. And unlike an agency that might hide their methods, here you are in the driver's seat deciding who works on your project and seeing exactly what they deliver. In fact, one of Legiit's core goals is to give business owners full ownership and transparency without the cost of an agency. Even if you never use Legiit, remember that concept: ownership and transparency. The right problems let you retain control and insight every step of the way. The next one is trusted freelance help, your on-demand team, if you will. The final piece is building a roster of go-to experts you can call on as needed. Now, this is easier than it sounds. All you have to do is start by identifying the key skills you require. Maybe it's a Google Ads guru, a copywriter, an SEO specialist, a web developer, whatever. You can find talented, independent folks in each of those niches. You don't need them 40 hours a week. You need them for a well-defined project or a set number of hours per month. When you find someone good, treat them well and develop a relationship. Over time, you essentially have a virtual marketing department composed of independent specialists. And the beauty is you're not paying idle time. There's no overhead, they have their own business to handle, and so on. You pay for outcomes, deliverables, and expertise. And because they often specialize deeply, the quality of their work can surpass that of a generalist agency, juggling 10 different disciplines. It's not uncommon, by the way, for agencies to secretly outsource to freelancers too. Trust me, I know. The difference here is you're skipping the markup and managing that collaboration directly. By combining these elements, you get a hybrid model that is lean and effective. Automation takes care of routine tasks and reporting, and you can also use the Legiit dashboard. Platforms give you access to talent and tools on demand. Again, Legiit. Freelancers bring in human creativity and expertise where you need it the most. Legiit. You might also sprinkle in some training and consulting. For example, take a short course on or hire a consultant for an hour to advise on strategy if you need guidance. It's still vastly cheaper than handing everything to an agency without understanding it. The result? You maintain control. You decide where to spend resources. You can experiment quickly, launch a small campaign, see the data because it's all in your hands, and adjust. You're not locked into an inflexible contract. If a freelancer isn't performing, you just replace them. No hard feelings. If a tool isn't useful, you just cancel it. You're agile, you're flexible, and most importantly, you're saving money while getting results. I've seen businesses cut their marketing costs by 50% or more, yet increase their results by moving to this agile mix and match approach. You channel funds to where they actually produce value. What a concept, right? Whether that's a killer piece of content or a high converting ad, rather than paying for somebody's overhead. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds great in theory, but how do I manage all these moving parts? Won't I be back to micromanaging marketing, which is exactly what I wanted to avoid? That's a fantastic question. Let's tackle that head on now. The goal here is not to turn you into an overworked marketing manager. The goal is to empower you to lead your marketing effectively without getting bogged down in the weeds. So the beautiful thing about the approach we just discussed is that it puts you in control without requiring you to micromanage every detail. You might be picturing a nightmare scenario where you're now coordinating 5 freelancers, 3 software tools, and doing nightly data analysis. Nobody wants that. And that's not how it has to play out. Let's talk about how you can lead your marketing effectively as a business owner, meaning you set direction and make high-level decisions without becoming a full-time marketing project manager. First, set clear goals and KPIs. Very clear on what you're trying to achieve. Is it 50 new leads a month? Is it a 20% increase in e-commerce sales? More foot traffic to your store? Define it and quantify it. When your objectives are crystal clear, you can communicate them to any freelancer or team member and align everyone's efforts. You're the strategist here. You decide the destination. Once that's set, you can step back and let your team figure out the best route, checking in to ensure progress is being made towards those key performance indicators, KPIs, that you've set. Having clear metrics also means you can quickly smell it if something's not working without having to dig into every little task. The way you do that is you use dashboards and analytics. One advantage of doing marketing in the modern era is that you can get data on almost everything. And you don't need to be a data scientist to use or understand it. You just set up simple dashboards that collect your key metrics in one place. There's a lot of tools that do this, and some platforms, like the Legiit AI dashboard, are built to consolidate and simplify this info for you. For instance, if you can have a dashboard showing your web traffic, conversion rates, ad spend, and ROI in real time. Check it weekly or monthly. This is high-level oversight. It tells you, are we on the right track or not? Without you having to poke into every single campaign. If the data shows a dip or a surge, you can then ask the relevant person, hey, what's going on here? What you're doing is managing by expectation, paying attention when things go off plan or exceed expectations, not hovering over every move. If the idea of looking at charts that still makes your eyes glaze over, you can even have an AI tool or a report service email you a plain English summary every single week. To further avoid micromanaging, switch to scheduled task check-ins instead of constant back and forth. Maybe you have a 30-minute call once a week with your key marketing contributors, freelancers, team members, whatever it is. They update you on progress, blockers, and results. You ask questions, make decisions, then let them get back to work. Outside of that meeting, you're generally hands-off unless something urgent arises. This way you maintain oversight and provide input, but you're not in the weeds daily. It also forces everyone to summarize and focus on what matters. Nobody wants to waste the weekly call on minutia. When you bring in a freelancer or use a tool, give them ownership of their part. If you've hired a copywriter, you're not rewriting their copy line by line. If you find you want to, that means you hired the wrong person, by the way. You might give initial guidance on tone or key points, then let them do their job. The deliverable comes back, you review it against your goals, and approve or request tweaks. Same with an ad specialist. You agree on a budget and target outcomes, and they run the campaigns. You check the metrics periodically to verify that it's performing. Former US President Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. That's your motto. You trust your team to execute without you looking over their shoulder, but you verify through reports and results that things are on course. Another thing is a simple project management tool or even a shared document can help keep everyone organized without you having to constantly intervene. For example, you could have a Trello board or an Asana project where tasks are listed with owners and due dates. You can peek in any time to see status because it's not about creating bureaucracy. It's about giving you visibility without having to ask for it. Your freelancers update their task status there so you know work is moving along. This prevents the scenario of sending 10 emails a day, asking what's the status on X. The info is updated in one place you can review in minutes. Another thing you can do is consider a point person. If you truly don't have the bandwidth to manage, even at a high level, consider assigning or hiring a point person. This could be someone on your team who already wears a few hats, or a part-time virtual CMO or a marketing coordinator. Their job is to herd the cats, coordinate the freelancers, interpret the reports, and so on, and then brief you on it. It's still often cheaper than paying an agency markup on everything. The key is this point person is accountable to you, not an outside firm. They operate within your system and align with your goals directly. You're still in control of strategy, but they handle more of the day-to-day communication and integration of the moving parts. Finally, embrace the mindset that you are the leader of your business growth. That doesn't mean doing everything yourself. It means orchestrating the resources to meet your goals. It's actually the role you should play. When you get it right, it doesn't feel like micromanaging, it feels like leading. You set the vision, you empower experts to contribute, and you maintain the bird's eye view. Remember, the best owners aren't those who hand off responsibility and bury their head, nor are they the ones meddling in every task. They are the ones who figure out what they want, put the right people and tools in place, and then do the work of guiding them. No excuses. So, at this point, we've covered the why, the what, and the how of moving beyond a traditional agency. But before we wrap up, I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't level with you about one more thing: results. When you use an agency, go DIY, or take the hybrid approach I'm advocating, the real determinants of success need to be understood. So let's have some real talk about what it actually takes to get results in marketing, no matter which path you choose. Look, it's time for a gut check. I've been encouraging you to take control and try a leaner approach, but let me be abundantly clear. No approach will magically produce results without effort, patience, and a solid strategy. Whether you're stuck with an agency, run the hybrid model, or do a bit of both, the fundamentals of marketing success remain the same. This isn't about finding a shortcut. It's about choosing a path where your effort yields the most result. Look, here's the truth. Marketing is hard. It's hard for agencies and it's hard for business owners doing it themselves. Anyone who tells you otherwise, like, oh, just use XYZ hack and you'll get rich, is selling snake oil. Getting results, and I mean real measurable business results, takes work. It takes testing ideas, failing and learning, refining your message, understanding your customer deeply, and consistently showing up where it counts. No agency can do your push-ups for you in terms of understanding your business and your customers. They can execute tactics, sure, but if your offer is weak or you don't know who you're targeting, even the best marketers will struggle to get you results. Look, what I'm saying is this. Don't fire your agency one day and expect your revenue to double the next just because you have a few freelancers on deck. Instead, know that you're choosing a route with more transparency and more potential ROI if you put in the work to drive it. And the good news is that when you do see wins, they'll truly be yours. You'll understand how you got them. You'll be able to scale them up. Now, the flip side to that is you also own the losses or the slow periods. There's no one else to blame, though there really never was, frankly. Even with an agency involved, it's still your fault. Let's manage expectations on timelines and outcomes. Some marketing channels take time no matter who is in charge. SEO, for instance, might take 6 to 12 months to really bear fruit, depending on your niche and your location and other things. But if you switch from an agency to freelancers, those timelines don't magically compress. What changes is that you might cut out wasted time and get more bang for your buck, but you still need to allow campaigns to run, content to rank, audiences to warm up, whatever. Be wary of the same unrealistic expectations that some agencies set. Look, one promise I'll make to you is this. The alternative approach gives you the agility to course correct faster when something isn't working. Since you're closer to the data and closer to the execution, you can spot this isn't working sooner and pivot. That can save you months for dragging along a failing strategy. Another point, consistency. One mistake people make when breaking away from an agency is they get excited initially, then lose steam. Maybe you start strong for a couple of months managing your new system, then the other priorities take over and marketing slips through the cracks. Remember, the agency's value was at least that someone was consistently doing something each month. Now that responsibility is in your hands. So you need to put systems in place to ensure consistency. Whether it's a content calendar you hold yourself to, or automated email campaigns scheduled ahead, or that weekly check-in we discussed, discipline wins over motivation in the long run. There will be tweaks you don't feel like reviewing, marketing reports or brainstorming content. Do it anyway, or have someone on your team do it, but make sure it gets done. A mediocre plan consistently executed will outperform a brilliant plan that's sporadic. Keep the wheels turning. Now let's talk quality. When you're in control, you decide what quality standard to hit. If you're putting out content or ads under your brand's name now, you have to hold them to a standard of excellence or at least relevancy. There's no agency to silently correct things behind the scenes. If a blog post draft from a freelancer comes in subpar, it's on you to send it back for revision or find a better writer. This is a bit of extra work, but it pays off because maintaining quality is what builds a brand and what attracts better customers. It's also how you avoid the trap of thinking, this marketing stuff doesn't work often. It does work, but only when done well. Be willing to insist on good work and give feedback. And the flip side of this is also true. Recognize when something is good and use it to the fullest. If you commission an article that performs well, repurpose it into a video or an email series or some shorts or whatever. Squeeze the value out of good content. That's efficient marketing. Finally, focus on ROI. One advantage of being more hands-on is you can closely watch what's paying off. If something isn't yielding results, you're free to cut it. If something is working, you're free to double down. Always tie your efforts back to results. Remember that earlier stat, 90% of clients, business owners like you, value overall value and long-term ROI over just cutting costs? The reason I'm urging you to consider firing your agency isn't just to save money, it's to reallocate those resources into things that drive growth. Saving money is great, but growing revenue is the goal. So judge your marketing approach by ROI above all. If your new mix of tools and talent is getting you more results for the same spend or less, that's a win. If not, be honest with yourself and adjust. The beauty of having control is you can change your strategy without needing a contract renegotiation. Just keep that accountability mindset, agency or not, the buck stops with you to ensure marketing is contributing to your business goals. Look, in summary, the path to results requires clarity, consistency, and commitment. The difference now is you can execute that path in a leaner way, more informed way. No black box, no bloated fees, but also no illusions. Roll up your sleeves and embrace the process. You'll be wiser and your business will be stronger for it. Look, we've covered a lot, and I know it's a departure from the traditional way of doing things, but the bottom line is this: you do have a choice. You don't have to accept the status quo of bloated retainers and mysterious reports. You can build a leaner, more agile growth model for your business, one that's responsive, cost-effective, and under your control. By firing or simply foregoing a conventional marketing agency, you're not abandoning marketing, you're reimagining it. You're trimming the fat and focusing on what moves the needle. You're leveraging talent and technology in a smart way, and you're demanding transparency and accountability every step of the way. In the process, you're likely to save a significant amount of money, but even more important, you'll gain understanding and ownership of your business growth. This approach isn't about doing it all alone. It's about taking the driver's seat. It might feel a little uncomfortable at first if you're used to someone else steering, but remember why we went down this road, because no one will care about your business as much as you do. When you take charge, you'll make better decisions long term. You'll be able to adapt faster, whether it's adapting to a new social media platform that's trending or pivoting your strategy when market conditions change. You become the agile entrepreneur who isn't bogged down by bureaucracy. It's also building something sustainable. Agencies come and go. Employees come and go, but when you have the knowledge and systems internally, even if internally means you plus a trusted circle of contractors and tools, you create continuity. You're building a marketing machine that's custom fit to your business, a machine that you own. That's an asset, arguably as valuable as any product or service that you sell. It's the engine that will keep bringing in customers, fueling revenue, and driving your growth on your terms. Look, as someone who's been on both sides, I've run an agency. I've run a platform that empowers entrepreneurs. I can tell you this shift is more than theoretical. I've watched countless business owners go from feeling trapped and in the dark to feeling confident and in control. The look on someone's face when they realize they don't need a big agency to succeed, that they have what it takes to lead their own marketing, is priceless. It's like watching a weight come off their shoulders. If you've stuck with me this long, something tells me you're ready to at least challenge the old model. Maybe you're not going to fire your agency tomorrow morning, but you'll probably approach that relationship with new eyes and higher expectations. Or maybe you are ready to make a change, to experiment with hiring that specialist directly, or trying that tool you've been curious about, or diving into your marketing data and learning a little bit more. I encourage you to do it. Start small if you need to, but start. Remember, this isn't about agencies being bad and freelancers or software being good. It's about finding what works best for you. It's about building a business that's efficient and future-proof. Entrepreneurship is freedom, as we say at Legiit, and that extends to how you run your marketing. You deserve the freedom to grow without unnecessary shackles. In the end, whether you fire your marketing agency or simply negotiate how things are done, my hope is you've gained insight from this. My hope is you feel empowered to ask the right questions and demand clear value for every dollar and hour you put into marketing. Don't settle for less. Your business growth is yours to command. You have more power, more options, and more capability than you might have thought. Use them. And as you forge your path, know that you're part of a new wave of business owners who refuse to be kept in the dark any longer. You're taking control, you're cutting costs, and you're still getting great marketing. In fact, likely getting it better than ever. That's the vision. Growth on your own terms. It's entirely possible. And it might even be the norm someday. I started Legiit to help make that vision a reality, to give people a way to scale without getting burned by bloated agencies or guesswork. But whether you use a platform like mine or not, the philosophy stands. Keep things lean, keep them agile, and keep them accountable. Now look, thank you for hanging out with me through this in-depth exploration. I hope you found it valuable and maybe even a little bit entertaining. Now, get out there and build that marketing engine for your business. Fire whoever you need to fire, hire whoever you need to hire. Just keep it legit. See what I did there? Look, no hype, no fluff, just results and growth. You've got this.